We left you building the fiscal house. We got the foundation, we got the walls up, now we're without a roof, so we've got to put your roof on. When you're talking about a roof, foundation that we laid was your age, 65% of it, if you're 65, is in the foundation where it can't go away. There's some guarantee to that. The walls are, you say the play checks. We get to the roof with what?
So the roof is the opportunity to now really take advantage of individual equities and positions to really get as much growth as possible. Our roof, the term in the financial world, is where we take risk at.
Okay.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be risky. There's a difference between taking risk and being risky. And I always kind of put this in the context of, I can take risk, but when I am being risky is when I am investing or doing things that I do not understand. If you don't understand it, then don't do it. That's where people take risk, unnecessary risk, right? So if I was going to put together a portfolio in the roof, I'm gonna look at individual positions, and I'm a big fan of just looking at the Mag 7. The Mag 7 had almost 63% in gains last year combined, just between the Mag 7. And the Mag 7 are your top 7 companies in the world. We're talking Amazon, Microsoft, Google, NVIDIA, Tesla, Apple, and Meta.
It's what Facebook lifted the market for the last several years by themselves.
Drastically. You know what is the key buzzword on everybody's mind now?
What is it?
AI. Everybody talks about AI. You hear it everywhere. That's
you see the sentences, you're not sure whether you're reading Al or whether you're reading AI because it's everywhere, right?
So who is the biggest developers of AI?
Tell me.
Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, Facebook, Meta, and NVIDIA. Just happens to be those top 7, right?
Why?
Because of the technology that they are depending upon, where they're at, looking forward, and service-based companies. I am a big proponent of investing in habits as well.
Explain that.
When you look at who's considered the greatest investor of all time, it's Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
And this was a famous quote by him, was invest in people's habits and you'll never go wrong. Because people have habits. Not saying they're good or bad habits or, to each your own, we all have our flaws. But if you drink alcohol, you can go broke, homeless, and you will beg for money to support your habit. When you do really well financially, or you have a big win, you'll buy everybody else drinks to support your habit. If I smoke, if I drink coffee, if I eat a lot of sugar, if I have any of this stuff, it's all habits, right? So if I invest in habits, do they do good or bad when the economy is fluctuating? They're always up because people will do their habits no matter what their financial situation is. So investing in habits is another big proponent that I will always look at. What's the #1 habit in America? Spending. We are the consumers of the world. So if you invest in debt, and how do I invest in debt? Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover. What do their profits look like over the last few years? We're talking over 50% profits just investing in debt. You know some of the biggest things that Warren Buffett has invested in? Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Apple, Geico being insurance. Coca-Cola pays him more than anybody working at Coca-Cola makes.
So the idea is, because now what you're talking about, when we go to Mag 7, then we talk about Warren Buffett, we talk about these major companies, and you talk about habits. You're talking about why aren't we paying attention to the people, to the companies that we complain about? They're making money hand over fist.
Correct.
Because of discipline. Habits are discipline.
Yeah.
We now have to change our habits.
Correct.
And the idea is our habit was accumulating. I'm going to accumulate, and then I'm going to go to my very first big habit, and that's how I'm going to spend it.
Yeah.
Now I make more, and I'm going to spend it. And the opposite is true with what this is.
Yeah.
On the people who are doing it right, is the habit is I'm going to reinvest.
So my point of this whole piece is, like I said, taking risk and being risky are two completely different things.
Gotcha.
Taking risk is saying, hey, I'm going to invest in Apple and Google and Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla, Amazon. I'm going to invest in these companies. These are the 7 largest companies anywhere in the world. They're all worth several $1 trillion. The net worth or the value, the market value of these companies combined is larger than the majority of all other countries and most of them combined. So when you look at that, do you think that Apple's gonna go bankrupt tomorrow?
Doubtful.
Or Microsoft or Google or Amazon or any of these companies? You're talking trillions and trillions of dollars. We don't even have one person who's a trillionaire in the world right now. I think Elon Musk is the closest, and he's halfway there. But you got these companies who are multi-trillionaires. So if I invest in these companies in the roof, we're talking 10% of your portfolio.
Okay.
Technically, I am taking risk, but how much risk is it really? Are these companies going to go bankrupt tomorrow? No, that's not going to happen, right? Will they fluctuate? Will there be? Absolutely. That's part of the market. That's just how it works. But when my exposure is so low, we're talking 10% of your net worth, I'm not panicked because Apple went down 2% and then it turned right around and went up 8%. Like, I don't panic at these situations. The roof is there strictly to outpace inflation. You're not relying on that for income. You're not relying on that for distributions. You're relying on growth, and then you have to rebalance it. You should be meeting with your advisor periodically throughout the year. If we have a year like last year and the market goes up, or those positions go up 63%, I'm not only going to have 10% of my roof now. I'm going to be closer to 15 to 16%. What do? You peel it off, you put it down into the walls and down into your foundation, and you keep the cycle going. As long as you're doing that, it is smooth sailing from here.
Wouldn't you like to have some smooth sailing? And maybe there is some readjustment that you need right now. Maybe you need to change your habits. Maybe you need a little discipline. Somebody who's done it for a while. This is what Chance does every day. 855-348-3018. If you would like a complimentary financial plan put together that builds you a foundation, that creates your walls, and lets you have a roof to try and figure out how this is going to be smooth sailing. Nobody wants to take a pay cut in retirement, and nobody wants to do retirement twice. Do it once, the right way. 855-348-3018.